Hello everyone, you're tuning in to the third episode of Alumni Talkies, an SCMHRD podcast featuring our illustrious alumni. I am Aisha and with me I have Vishnu and we will be your hosts for this exciting episode of the Alumni Talkies. Today, we are honored to engage in an exciting conversation with Mr. Arpit Jain from the batch of 2013. Mr. Arpit pursued his bachelor's in electronics and communication before joining SCMHRD. He has worked with distinguished companies like Mahindra Group, Bharti Airtel, AkzoNobel and Dabur India Limited before joining Tasva in 2022. Currently, he is the HR head for Tasva, which is a joint venture between ABFRL and Tarun Tahiliani. In his professional experience of 9 years, he has worked in various verticals like human resource business partnering, total rewards, HR shared services, payroll management, change management, project management and people management to name a few. Today, we are engaging with him on the topic professional advancement, where he will be sharing his valuable insights with us. A very warm welcome, Arpit sir, and thank you for being a part of the Alumni Talkies.
Hi, Isha. Hi, Vishnu. Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
So, sir, can I begin with the first question?
Sure.
Okay. So, the bulk of our batch at SCMHRD, say about 50%, is fresher. So, what guidance would you like to give them so that their transition into the corporate world happens seamlessly?
Okay, so this is something that was discussed during our times as well. And even in fact, I was also a fresher. So there is always an apprehension in the mind: how would the fresher be able to adjust in the corporate ecosystem? See, the difference that so far is in the initial few years, it takes a little more time for a fresher to understand the organization ways of working, which is not long, but still people coming with work experience have worked in a corporate ecosystem, though the roles might have been completely different, but they understand how do you talk to a manager, how do you talk to your colleagues, teams, how do different department works. But initially, when the career starts, it's also about how the functional knowledge is being applied. So I cross for a fresher and a work experience person. So I don't think so. People should think too much about it. There are organizations that help settle down, because when they're hiring from campus or if you're joining directly as well, the companies know that you've passed out of MBA and there are certain expectations, but they don't put too much focus on whether you've worked before or not.
Thank you so much for the valuable insight, sir. And sir, coming just like you said, so people as our batch is about 50% are freshers and 50% are who are already had work experience. So sometimes our past professional experience, limits our ability to explore new positions and organizations. So how do you advise that the candidates with work ex should deal with it while excelling professionally at the same time?
Yep. I think it's very critical to have clarity and focus on what one really wants from their job. For everyone who wants to change a job, they should be very clear about if they are already complacent in their current roles. Whenever one initially thinks about looking for a change, they should clearly evaluate if their learning has been stagnated in their current organization or role. If there is no value addition to them professionally, they should definitely start looking for alternatives internally or externally. Also, what their role adds value to the organization, sometimes that's also a factor that the role plays. While changing roles, a lot of factors and filters any individual uses. Typically, these revolve around the role, the brand, organization. Obviously, there is a factor of compensation and the location that the role is in. And post-COVID, a lot of these factors have changed as well, like what are the work-life balance, support required from the organization. I think one should not look too much into one should not have too much anxiety about changing jobs, but clearly evaluate on what they are getting into.
Okay, sir, that was quite an enlightening answer. So, talking about the inevitable practical challenges that an individual faces in the journey of career advancement. So, what are your thoughts on the same and how should an individual be prepared for them?
See, as and when a professional spends a lot of time in their career, there will be challenges both professionally and personally. While it's tough to anticipate what they are getting into, but and it's tough to be prepared for them because you don't know what's really coming your way. Uh, I personally think challenges, especially professional challenges, should be used as an opportunity to learn and grow. Uh, you will have setbacks and failures as you spend time in the organization being part of different projects. One doesn't get chance to choose their own managers in case if the work environment is not healthy. You always have an option to talk to your colleagues, your business HR business partners, other senior folks in the organization. uh, there are some more severe challenges that a lot of individuals might also face. Things like because of org restructuring, they might undergo a role change, transfers. Even people sometimes have to lose their jobs as well. One should definitely have confidence in self at these times. You should be connected to your batchmates networks, your professional networks in your organization. There are a lot of counseling sessions as well, a lot of organizations offer. But uh, really, you no one can say I'm fully prepared for all the challenges that will come across my way. One has to be
Right,
very
sir.
very specific around and strong around what might hit them. Be prepared for the worst but hope for the best.
Uh, Thank you for a very elaborate answer, sir. And sir, nextly, we all think about, whenever we think about MBA, we'll think that okay, these are the skills that are needed for us to get it, to prep us for the 2-year program of MBA. So, just in the same manner, what essential skills do you think must the students possess before entering the corporate environment and taking on leadership positions right after doing an MBA?
Okay, so firstly, everyone has to be very clear. Not everyone that does an MBA directly gets into a leadership role. It's a journey that they have to travel. Uh, from campus placements, it also depends a lot on what organization they are getting into, what kind of management training programs do the organizations have. But it usually starts with an entry level role. I think functional knowledge is something that helps transition from an entry level to a leadership role. Uh, that's a basic hygiene that's given. Uh, One should definitely, and since you've also mentioned there are a lot of freshers in the batch, they should try and understand what the business is about, what the larger ecosystem is, what's the competition landscape, how does an organization operate, how does the organization earn money. The basic objective of a business is to earn shareholder value, right? As in, when they spend more time in the organization, you will definitely get into leadership roles. Uh, you will have to transition from an individual contributor to a people manager to a department head, a function head, and how do you handle your team? Eventually, the functional knowledge has to, like I said, that's the hygiene that goes without saying. You'll have to be aware about what's happening around in the technology landscape. How's your function progressing? I'm assuming there are students from different specializations including finance, marketing, HR. So what's happening around? Where's the world going? And uh, as you move towards leadership positions, a lot of things change. Your role becomes very very critical. Your responsibilities grow, and your dependency and decision making has a higher impact on the organization.
Yes, sir. Truly, sir. So, sir,
And
this makes
sorry,
me think
on a
of.
very lighter note, since you asked what skills one should possess, definitely Microsoft Excel is something that I would suggest a lot of people should definitely be hands-on. A lot of students, especially freshers, like again you've been mentioning, they're not very used to it, but that's something that really helps you transition into a organization.
Okay, sir, we'll be truly sharing these insights with our audience. So, sir, so my next question to you is that, like, we have seen that managers recognize that there is a sort of disparity when academia and industry is concerned. So, which is why, there is a certain kind of transition process that is necessary. So,
Mhm.
what are the gaps that you think were these when you actually joined in an organization, when you started? And how should one should work towards filling these gaps?
Okay, so I started my career as a management trainee with AkzoNobel. I was very fortunate to be part of that organization. I was there for almost 7.5 years. Uh, they had a very awesome program called Campus to Corporate. Initially, they would take us through a lot of very basic stuff as well. Uh, for organizations, and not everyone would have a structured management training program, but I would suggest uh, during those 2 years of MBA, you get a lot of theoretical knowledge. Should also try and see what's the application of those concepts in the real world. Uh, in the first few months, try and understand, like I was mentioning earlier, what the organization is about, what are you getting into. It's also very important to uh, understand other functions, other departments, as you see, because what I had personally seen is one individual gets into a role, they are so engrossed in their own functional domain knowledge, because that's your learning phase. Till the time you do that in the start, later on you would be expected to know all of that stuff. uh, Talk to your manager, talk to your colleagues, try and find opportunities to be part of different projects, different cross-functional teams get formed, and understand in the initial few years. Like I said, you'll get very less opportunity later, because as and when you transition into more middle management and senior management roles, these things they would be expecting that you would have learned in the first few years. The current curriculum is evolving, has evolved a lot. A lot of elements of practical learnings are there right now, but still theoretical concepts would remain, and you'll have to find ways and means to implement those concepts in your day-to-day operations.
Thank you for the nice advice, sir, and we'll keep this in mind and let all this audience of ours to know about this. And sir, we have discussed a great deal about getting into the industry. Getting into the corporate world right from the college. But how can an individual ensure that they succeed and advance from entry level to the middle level and then to a higher level?
Okay, so each individual would have very different expectations from their own job and role. I have spoken to a lot of people who think their aspiration is not to become the CEO, but they want to have a very specific functional expertise. They want to be an expert in their own domains. Uh, when someone wants to transition from middle management to a senior management, or entry level to middle to senior management, it's a journey. There's no magic wand that can be used and say from tomorrow you are a leader or you're the head of a function. uh, the experience that one gains throughout the years, it goes without saying, your functional and domain knowledge has to be there. That's a given. There are other aspects that come into play as and when you grow in the career. There is a lot of dependency that comes into you. Your decision making has a higher impact. Your responsibility and your accountability increases. So you'll have to spend more and more time in the organization, and by that I don't mean to say that the work life balance goes for a toss, but yes, you will be required to be part of larger discussions. You'll have to understand and learn about your team. How do you delegate work? How do you get things done from your colleagues, from your supervisors, from your seniors, from your team members? Also, it's usually said, with great power comes great responsibility. You also, as you grow in your career ladder, you're responsible for setting culture in the organization. People look up to you, that decide and determine uh, how and what an organization is by a lot of leaders. So you'll have to develop your personality as well as you grow in the professional ecosystem. And again, it doesn't mean you have to change yourself, but how do you conduct probably as you enter into an organization versus how you transition from middle to senior management. People will look up to you, so you'll have to uh, adapt to those situations and those ways of working as well.
Yes, sir. So that was truly a thoughtful answer. So my next question to you is that the first placed with excitement and uncertainty at the same time. So what were your expectations from your first job, and how many of them were actually accomplished?
So, like I mentioned, I was fortunate to be part of a structured management training program. So, my expectation was to, and I was a fresher, so I was not aware about what are the different aspects of an organization. How does a HR function operate? I also had colleagues and batchmates of mine joining other organizations. So my expectation was, I wanted to understand what are the different verticals in my function, so that eventually I can decide what I really want to do. So again, I was fortunate enough to be part of different verticals. So initially, I did business partnering. There was a rewards and which is a comp-and-ben role. I was able to be part of the shared services team, lead payroll for the organization, and be part of global projects as well. So that helped me really understand what I want to do and, more importantly, what I don't want to do. So my suggestion for anyone who's starting their career would be to little bit not be very specific what I really want this, because once you're out of the campus and you go and join an organization, you really don't know what you're getting into. Obviously, there is a job description. You would have questions in your interview, but those roles would definitely change after 1 or 2 years. So you'll have to be open to new learnings. There is a horizontal functional learning that needs to be experienced. You need to learn the art of failing fast and learning fast. You'll have to understand what the organization expects from you. There are certain situations in we are very specific about locations, the role that you are getting into. Try and take those risks, try and take those bets in the initial few years. I personally, this is my seventh location in a span of 9 or 10 years. uh, Very, very important to have those conversations with your supervisor, your functional heads, and if anyone who's handling a campus management training program or your HR business partner, that these are the things that you really want to do in the initial few years. If they do it well and good, if they don't, find ways and means. There are obvious projects that are there in the organization that help you learn across as well. Set those expectations, set those communications right up front, and I'm sure a lot of managers, when you're joining in their teams, they know you're right from B school, you're fresh out of college, you're high on energy, you have a lot of value to be added in the ecosystem, and do leverage that. They look up, they really want management trainees to come and join organizations. Right now, when we hire from campuses, there are a lot of organizations that are fighting for talent. You would have interviews starting at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., day zero slot, day n-1 slots. So understand why organizations are doing so, what's there in you for the organization, and set those expectations once you join them. So I'm sure a lot of organizations are supportive in setting the base for a new management trainee coming in.
That's a very great advice, sir. Like fail fast and learn fast, and I definitely am sure that all the students will get inspired and they'll work for this. And also, sir, the next question is regarding, we just want to know what your journey with SMHRD was like, and I mean right after graduating.
So my journey with SMHRD, when I came to Pune, we had an orientation. Firstly, uh, Symbiosis was known to a lot of people, but SMHRD, there was a perception. I'm not sure it doesn't exist anymore. I'm very sure, but that it's only a institute for HR. When I came in initially, we had our director. We called him Subbu. Uh, he had those orientation sessions, and he was very, very direct and very clear. And there were parents in the hall. I still very, very clearly remember that day, what all statements he made during those conversations. But I really did not know what I was getting into there. I had very, very broad expectations around, okay, we'll go for an MBA, उसके बाद अच्छी नौकरी लगेगी and you learn a lot of money. That was the first set of expectation that was there. But as you go for that 2-year program, you have a lot of uh, aspects that come into play. So you learn from your batchmates, you get to know a lot of people. Again, you mentioned a mix of freshers, work experience, people coming in from different parts of country. You're out of your comfort zone. For me, I was also very fortunate to get into the admissions team that gave me a very different perspective about how teams operate, how to work under pressure. We used to work for long nights as well. Campus was fun. The first year was outside. The hostel was outside, so we used to travel from there. There are different committees that are there in colleges, so you also get to be a part of those bases, your interest areas. Uh, I remember we did not have a sports committee back then. So I, along with 2 or 3 of my batchmates, we went to the director and we started the sports committee at college as well. So that's when the entrepreneurial thing comes in, when you have a lot of things that you really want to do, and how does the college support you. I was again fortunate to get into a good organization for an internship. That was my first ever corporate experience. So the first stipend came in. Obviously, very happy. Uh, my advice to students would be make the most out of those 2 years. Make a lot of connects. Obviously, you can't force for having new friends, but talk to a lot of people. That's where the college comes in. After a point in time, uh, the functional academia, the subjects will definitely help, but these are the people that who you will be connected with post 2 years of MBA. I am very happy that I'm still in touch with a lot of my batchmates, and we often talk about our memories with the college. And I really want to wish luck. I'm sure you guys will uh, ensure that the flag of SCMHRD is high, and I would want to wish all the best to the students.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess the people from sports committee will be really thrilled to hear that from the the one who actually started the sports committee in the college.
Yeah. I'm still in touch with. I was in touch with a few of them till I think last year. We had a offline conversation with them. We called up 3-4 batch sports committee members, and we were chatting about how we started and some of the finer aspects of it. But uh, it really feels good to see a post from a sports com that they're going into an event and winning trophies for the institute.
Yes, sir, absolutely. They are doing great, sir, right now in the college also. So, sir, on this note, we would like to appreciate and thank you, sir, for giving us your valuable time for such an enlightening session. We are confident that the students will be inspired by your experiences and will be able to apply whatever they learned from this session to their MBA studies. And thank you so much for giving your valuable time, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you, Isha, for having me here. In case if anyone wants to get in touch, I'll pass on my contact details to you as well. There is LinkedIn, but in case if anyone wants or has any specific question, I'll be happy to help.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
sir.
much,
Thank you so
sir.
much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for tuning
Thank you.
in.